All right, how's it, everybody? Our devotional today is going to be out of 1 Samuel chapter 31. So I encourage you to flip to 1 Samuel to read that chapter and then jump back in with us after you've read that. So now that you've read 1 Samuel chapter 31, I just want to look at the first 7 verses for the most part. It's a really tragic end to this book. Saul dies, but what I wanted to point out is there's a really subtle motif in it, and it's the motif of how Saul dies. So what's interesting is that he's struck with these arrows, but the arrows aren't the thing that actually kills him, right? Scripture says that he pulls out his own sword and he falls upon it. So it's his own sword that actually takes his life. Now, why is that meaningful, or why is that important at all? It's interesting because throughout this book, everywhere that Saul goes, like literally almost every time he's mentioned, this guy has either a sword or a spear. He's clutching onto it, he's using it, he's sleeping next to it. It's always with him. And there's this concept that gets exposed for us in chapter 17, the David and Goliath one. And the concept is this. Basically, David is talking to Goliath, and what he tells Goliath when he's taunting David for coming at him with stones is that the Lord doesn't save through swords and spears. The battle belongs to him. And so what we kind of learned from that point then is like the ones through the book who hold on to the spears and the swords are the ones who trust in their ability and these swords and spears, and not in God to provide, to protect, to deliver, to bring joy, to save. And it's an odd, sad indictment against Saul's life that everywhere he's mentioned, he's sitting under a tree and he has the spear next to him. Or in fact, when he's talking to David before David goes to fight Goliath, Saul doesn't embolden David's faith. Saul offers him armor and a sword. He thought that's what David actually needed more than faith. He needed a weapon, this sword that he's trusting in. In fact, what he's throwing at his sons, what he's throwing at David, he's throwing these spears. When we find Saul sleeping and David has the opportunity to take his life, right? The spear is next to his head, literally sleeping with this thing. And the dramatic end in the story, and I think not just the story, but like the warning, the caution for us, and the encouragement for us to meditate, is that the sword that Saul clutches onto, these spears that he trusts in to protect, to provide, to deliver, to establish his throne and bring deliverance, they become his own end. They don't save him. In fact, they actually choke him out and they kill him. And I think that's what the author is trying to help us to understand. So you're saying, well, maybe that's kind of an odd devotional this morning, Duke. I think it gives us time to pause and actually to reflect and consider. We don't carry swords around, hopefully, don't carry swords around with us. But are there any other things in your life that you carry around on your mind all day? Goals, dreams, things literally on your thoughts that you trust in to provide for you or your family, that you trust in for your salvation, even your work, your performance, any kind of thing that you believe you need to have just to be okay, that you guard and hold on to or hope for or pursue because you think it's going to be the thing that establishes your feet. Well, 1 Samuel offers us a pretty clear warning and alternative, and he says this, the author of 1 Samuel, actually in chapter 12. If you guys want to flip there. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but the author, speaking through Samuel, says this in chapter 12, starting in verse 20. Yet do not turn aside from following the Lord, but serve the Lord with all your heart, and do not turn aside after empty things that cannot profit or deliver, for they are empty. Verse 24. He makes it simple. So what then? Only fear the Lord and serve him faithfully with all your heart, for consider what great things he's done for you. These swords and spears in our life are great. God gives them to us to be enjoyed, but he's the only thing that'll truly satisfy, truly deliver. And that's the devotional for today. So I encourage you to take some time to think, examine your heart and your life. Is there anything that you think about, hold on to, idolatrize even with your worship or your trust. Maybe that God is wanting for you to just let go of, lay at His feet, come back and worship Him. And hope you guys have an incredible day. See you again next time.